200,000. And then you see the MPP that got 6 million, almost 7 million in 2020, dropping down to a little over 4 million. Is it true in your analysis that a lot more MPP persons sat this out, or it is just not backed by the data?
I think that would be a narrow scope for us to exploit because, like you rightly pointed out, no party is entitled to any number. If you are going for an election, you are starting from a zero note. So that is why you see this active campaigning. You are supposed to give the people a reason to come to the polling station and vote. So the fact that the numbers were a bit different from what we witnessed in 2020 doesn't necessarily mean that the MPP people decided not to vote. Like you said, might happen. They did that for several other reasons. But the fact is that the Ghanaians who showed up at the polling stations to vote definitely did not vote for the MPP for several reasons. Because like we rightly indicated, issues of political corruption were rampant to the extent that everybody could hear it on a daily basis. And you see, gone were the days when the average and ordinary Ghanaian appeared to be a bit uneducated about issues of politics. Today, the platforms are quite diverse. These innovative platforms, Facebook, social media platforms are quite diverse. And there are a lot of education going on there. I've been saying that nobody consumes information and sit idle. Whenever you consume information, you tend to act on it. And once you saw those exposures running around on various platforms, it got to a point Ghanaians became fed up. And some decided not to vote though, but those who showed up decided to punish the government for breaking the trust Ghanaians reposed in them, especially at the point when the government appeared to be so insensitive to the plight of the average and the ordinary Ghanaian. I've listened to the conversation from all the panels on this particular show, and there is one thing that is rhyming across: arrogance, impunity, total disregard, and vulgar arrogance on the part of those in power. So you, as a government, you may not put up to be the best government ever, but sometimes you also have to manage your relationship with the people. That is why I've always been advocating that whenever you're in power, the relationship that might exist between you and the people must be that of mutual respect and intellectual kinship. No pity, absolutely nothing. All that you need to do is to use the power to do the right thing. But over the years, what we witness, issues of corruption may pop up. The president have the overwhelming power to set up a team, at least to do a preliminary stage of investigation to establish merit or otherwise in any of these issues of corruption. You see that attitude of indifference on his part, and at the end of the day, he happens to be the person who comes out and clear these individuals. So at the end of the day, the institutions like the special prosecutor, which he promised the people was going to set up as an avenue to tackle issues of corruption, the persons he appointed at the end of the day were sitting on the nails with the president. They were sitting on tenterhooks. We all saw the explosive exposure from the former special prosecutor, Martin Amidu, and then the new one who recently came, the ordeals that they had to grapple with. So definitely it painted a picture to the average and ordinary Ghanaian that the Akuffo Addo government that promised the people that he was going to fight corruption has demonstrated once again in his second term that he is not. And rather, he is rather providing incentives and motivation for people to engage in this massive act of pilfering that we all saw in the last 8 years. So for me, I think MPP didn't lose the election, but Ghanaians have become a bit more enlightened, especially if you look at the vote from the Ashanti region and you look at the number of CDNDC won. I think it gives a very picture-skewed description that Ghanaians at this point in time have come to understand politics. That going forward, certain conventional rules have been established that if you're given power and you mess up, they will deal with you. And I think it's a lesson to John Mahama and the NDC that going forward, it is no more business as usual. Ghanaians are very vigilant in their watching. So whatever that you do, you must make sure you don't veer off. But as soon as the government goes rogue, definitely you will be dealt with. So I think these are some of the things that we need to look at. And at the end of the day, set the stage for the next phase of our politicking in this country. Because if you look at the mess our democracy has been exposed to, the danger, it got to a point the very foundations of our democracy were being subjected to mortal assault.
Ivan, I like that point that you make, and that's why I want to bring in Nana Akuffo Addo, who has joined us again. We'll try again to see if his networks works a bit better now. Nana Akuffo Addo, if you can hear me, I want to know what you made of this very huge defeat. And there's a lot of reasons that have gone around the table. Some have said, well, the MPP lost this. The NDC did not really appreciate in terms of their votes. Do you think lessons have been learned, particularly from the fold of the NPP, and whether or not this particular defeat signals something for the entire political class?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Fantastic. I just want to say that this election, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of people say the NPP people didn't go and vote. That's why. Actually, there are a lot of NPP.
Recently, there was an expose about people who have spent millions of dollars to fix the shoe and they haven't fixed it. But that's a matter for another day. And Akuffo, which part of the blame do you think the NPP in particular will give to Nana Akuffo Addo? There are those who said that he played such a big role in the result that the NPP has had going there. In the sound we played at the start of the show, you had NPP MPs, close to 100 of them, asking him to sack Ken Ofori-Atta. He didn't up until early this year, February 2024, before he relieved him of his duty as finance minister, as well as some decisions he took. Do you think that the president and some of the decisions and the conduct really cost the NPP bigly, or people are just scapegoating the president? Hello, Nana Kofi. Then Edwin, if you can take this for me, which part of the blame do you think the president? Yeah, Ivan. Okay.
Yes, Kwaku. I think President Akuffo Addo can be blamed for everything that happened, because this is a man who virtually elevated himself to a sort of Nebuchadnezzar status within the NPP. Everything goes around him, and if you look at the way and manner he managed, at some point in time, certain folks within the NPP realize that this is our party, this is our government. Certain things are not going right. So, Mr. President, your cousin, Ken Ofori-Atta, who happens to be the finance minister, considering that wrong trajectory, the bad economic fortune this country is on, the trust in our economy has waned considerably. So we are asking you, at least let him leave, and so that another person can take over, as a sign of that will bring some kind of relief or some kind of hope into the whole government architecture. The president, as an individual, resisted and stood against that particular call from party members. So at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong at the end of it, the president is solely responsible for whatever happened. And then again, we all saw these attacks on institutions in this country. And at some point in time, one thing that became quite clear, Ghanaians were standing afar. We've all folded our arms, watching government from a distance as if we weren't part of what was going on, because we saw this attack on state institutions, sensitive ones. And we also saw some appointment that president was consistently putting up some individuals who were known party people into sensitive institutions that were not meant for partisan business. So at the end of the day, whatever being the outcome of such institution definitely will be on the president. The other side has to do with the fact that the president virtually decided to sit idle and watch everything as it unfolds. It's the reason why I've been saying that President Akuffo Addo was not running government, rather he was running a Ponzi scheme. And this is what happened. Things like NAPCO, for instance, he was supposed to provide sustainable job opportunities for young people who just embrace some of these opportunities and say, hey, there is a future for me, I can plan my life. But he brought in as a stopgap measure. People will go in and graduate. When you graduate, what are you going to do? At the end of the day, even that stopgap opportunity, we could not guarantee it.
Okay, Ivan, please hold it there for me. Let's do some messages. A lot of you are sending us your messages about what you think of the outcome of the election and what you think it portends for the Ghanaian political system. Michael Papaniashale is joining me in studio with a lot of your messages that are coming on from our WhatsApp console. Michael, what are people talking about?
Well, Bismarck, let me take you to... I know you don't like the name Bismarck, but Kuku Asante. Let's start from Tamaniu. This one is from Nick Kojo, and he says, the election results are a true reflection of the people's mandate. Work with the citizenry, he says. And then let's go to Alex, and he says, I think the election outcome is just a protest vote of arrogance and impunity, and pray the incoming government learns something out of this. That's more here. Alfred says, Alfred from Awoshi, he says President Akuffo Addo has collapsed the NPP party cry. Well, I'm not sure that some people will agree with you on this. Could you also have some?
Yes, this one from Freeman listening to us from Kaswa says the NDC should not create any jobs in their books. We want to see the real jobs and sustainable ones as such. I don't understand what this means, but thank you, John Ramani Mahama.
Kwaku, what I would say is it's not business as usual. The NDC has been in power before, but this time around, everything is going to be different because at this point, the average Ghanaian is very intelligent and very focused, watching everything from a very widened perspective, not a narrow perspective. So I'm expecting that the new administration will institute criminal inquisition into all issues of corruption. All issues of corruption must be investigated because that is one of the reasons Ghanaians voted for this change. There are people who were not NDC but decided to get people out so that we can investigate the criminal dealings that they did. And again, I think some of our state institutions have lost credibility because of some unreasonable appointment the president made. Individuals with known party ties were appointed into the Electoral Commission and the Supreme Court. As we speak, the Supreme Court has lost credibility. Some of the individuals there, we know where they are coming from and stuff. I think we need to start cleaning these institutions up so that we can engender trust and confidence once again, so that our institutions will have that kind of flair to ride. And then President Akuffo Addo, I think he will go down as the worst president ever in the history of this country. And he's forever going to walk in the hall of shame forever. Because we told him, he decided never to listen. And this is the outcome.
Okay, Edwin, let me give you that word on that. Edwin, what do you think? What do you think the message to the president should be? The incoming president?
Right.
Yeah, Edwin, let me hear from you very briefly. Then I can give Edward the last word and then we can wrap up. Hello, Edwin.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, what I would like to put across is, you see, when we are, contesting at, elections,